welcome back to my channel. My name is Alondra Elizabeth. This video I'm just going to be sharing some basic tips kind of that I have for working in an office, I guess, and in your internship or like legal field, whatever. My first job coming out of high school was at a law firm. I just walked in there and asked if they needed somebody to work for them. I had taken a copy of my resume, which literally had nothing on there of importance. I had volunteered, I had tutored, I guess, for two organizations, and that was the only thing that was on my resume. Essentially, it was a pretty sad resume. But I just walked in there, asked for a job, and they took me in. And so I started off there, and I returned to that firm every summer during my undergrad years. And then in undergrad, I worked at a human resources office. And after graduating college, I worked as a legal assistant at a nonprofit, and now I am a legal fellow at a nonprofit. So I do have some experience working in office, working with people that are older than me, working with professionals who have more experience, and in a field of my interests. So I don't know, I guess that goes to say that I know what I'm talking about, kind of. I don't know. Take my tips with a grain of salt regardless, because every person's different, every firm is different, and people react differently regardless. But these are my tips. So my tips, one of the first few things that I learned before, and I think I shared it on my first day vlog, is to always have a notebook, a pad, and pen, sticky notes minimum, something to write on and something to write with. Whenever you are talking to someone, honestly, whenever you're talking to someone, because at the law firm where I was at, the first law firm that I was at, I was receiving projects from everybody in the office. I did have one specific supervisor, but everybody would just ask me like, hey, do you have time? Can you help me with this? Can you do that? Blah, blah, blah. And so having something to write something on all the time, one, made it easy for me to know what I was doing and like to who a project was for, and then three, how many things I was doing, so that when somebody asked, do you have time to do this, I can actually see yes or no. I mean, for the most part, I always said yes. I never said no, and I think that is one of the best attitudes to have, I guess, to kind of say yes. But I would definitely caution that, and not just say yes all the time because you want to please everyone or want to do a good job, or want to show that you want to do a good job, unless you know you can. So like, be prepared to say no if you don't have capacity, I guess. That's something it took me definitely easier to say than to do, for sure, because you don't want to look bad, you don't want to say no. But there's definitely come times where I've always kind of said yes, and then kind of realized, oh shoot, like I can't. These projects are due on the same day, and they both require like heavy lifting on my part. And then having to go back to someone and be like, just kidding, I can't really do this, or I need more time, or I need help. And there's no shame in asking any of those questions. But probably would have been better to start off saying yes with, I probably can, but I have a project due on the same day, so I may need more support in doing this project, or if there's any way we can move around with the time or something, like be like, I'm willing to help, but I probably gonna need to be flexible on this. So that's kind of like 2 tips in one, or 3 tips in one, I guess. Always have something to write on, something to write with, willingness to say yes to new things, to projects, even if you don't really know, how to do it exactly on your own, because you could probably ask questions about that. And 3, be willing to say no if you're at capacity, or just to have an open, honest conversation about your willingness to be helpful in that project, but knowing that you can't give your full attention to it. And then 4th tip, ask questions. That is one of the only things I am proud of ever in like regards to being in the workforce is that majority of every office that I've ever worked with, they've always told me that I ask excellent questions and that they are always so happy that I ask questions, because most people don't ask questions. Most people just say yes, they just say they're gonna do a project, and then even though they have questions, they don't ask them because they're too shy, they're nervous, they don't want to seem like they don't know what they're doing. But then that's just worse off because the person doesn't end up doing the project how they're supposed to, or they end up taking way longer because they're really trying to figure out themselves. And so ask questions and by that I mean anything from when do you want this to be done by, what kind of format would you like me to do it, would you like me to print this, to email this to you, just basic questions like that, to questions of what did you mean by saying XYZ, so clarifications, to questions from as I got on. Different firms do things differently. So I was trained originally doing a certain type of thing, and then on my next job, they didn't specify. So I point blank asked, like, "Hi, I just want to clarify on this procedure. I learned it XYZ way. Is that how you all do it? Is that how you would like me to do it? Or is there a different way that you like this to be done?" And they were like, "Great question. We actually do it, blah, blah, blah." And then since that's just the way they do things, it's like a basic thing that they didn't expect to have to teach someone, or that someone would know, which is actually very, very messed up because, like I said, different firms do things different ways. And so I did know how to do it. It was just doing it in a different manner. And so asking questions, clarification questions, asking questions because you're confused, like, "Oh, I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Would you be able to explain, or give me an example?" Always just being, I think, very, very honest. I think whenever I go to work, or whenever I go to a new place or a new job, that's just in my mind, like, what I refer back to. Just like, I want to do the best work that I can. And so in order to do that, I need to be honest about whenever I am confused or whenever I have questions about my work ethic, about whatever, like, be truthful and honest to myself and how I do things is what I always rely on. Especially when in law firms and offices, when they expect you to be efficient and like self-working, being able to ask those questions at the beginning is so much more helpful, because then they can actually leave you alone and you can actually just go to your desk and do the work. And then unless something else comes up as you go, you don't pretty much need that constant overwatch or like constant check-ins with people, because you asked the questions you needed to know at the beginning, and then now you're being left alone to try and figure it out and keep doing it. So that's another tip: ask questions, which I know we probably hear often, but I think it's very valid. And again, I've just received very positive feedback whenever I have actually gone ahead and done that at my different jobs. Another tip, which is one that definitely I struggled with and still struggle with. I'm only barely getting better at it, but I received this feedback at my last job, which is to be more confident in regards to when you are left alone with a project and there's troubleshooting that needs to be done. I was given the feedback to be more confident on what I already know in regards to fixing it. So if you kind of have a sense of how to do something already, like, give it a shot and try and figure it out without having to ask for confirmation from your supervisors before moving forward. They were like, "It's great that you ask questions, and we love that you ask questions, and we want everyone to ask questions. But this is stuff you know. Like, if you were only more confident in your own skills, you would not have to wait to get a yes, and we wouldn't have to give you a yes," right? So it was very hard to kind of hear that. So this is something I wanted to share, because if you have, and we do, as I think as law students going into your first internships, you do know more than you think, and you know how to do things more than you would think you would know. So like, lead with your gut, I guess. And as I had experiences in different things and in the field that I was working in or interning with, I did know how to do things already, and so it was just straight up like a confidence level because of that difference between like being like a student, being younger than most of my coworkers and everything. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Take that one as you will. It's pretty hard, but I guess try and be more confident and lean in on your and lean in with your gut and like what you feel is right and what you feel you know. And when you know, like if you don't know something, don't try to do something that you think you'll get wrong, you know? It's only if you actually know something to actually be confident and do it. And then last tip, um, in regards to with like your coworkers that are older and stuff, I find that most people like they're chill. It was very I couldn't relate to families to, dads and moms and like they're talking about their kids and all these things. Like I don't have kids most of this time. I mean, I am 23. I started working when I was 18 and it was always in an office format. Like I've never worked like a service job or anything like that. Um, so I kind of grew up sharing spaces with people that were again older than me, had different things on their minds and all that stuff. So I mean, I just always like I was like I would be interested, like I would have conversations with my coworkers, asking about their days, again being respectful, just being like honest of like, oh wow, I did not know that, didn't think about that, like blah blah, like keeping everything very respectful, everything very just like day to day. I did make friends with some coworkers. Like I went to have lunch, just celebrate my birthday with them sometimes, celebrate their birthdays, had coffee. We would just be interested in like getting to know people. I think as long as you're just showing an interest in people's lives, it's pretty. And like you don't have to like wow know everything about them if you don't want to. It depends on you, I guess. But I think just kind of showing that initiative, like you're already like I feel like older coworkers, like they don't care about you, especially if they know you're only going to be there for a little bit. So it's up to you in regards to how you want your experience to be. So I wanted my experience to be nice. I wanted to be able to walk in and be like, "Hey, good morning. Like, how was your weekend? Blah blah," and not just be this random shadow on the wall or like a fly on the wall. Because I wanted to be able to learn more about the job itself, and the way to do that is to talk to coworkers and be able to have conversations about projects and whatever it is you're being assigned to. And I got to do more things because I actually got along with my coworkers pretty well, like even though there was such a big age gap most of the time. And that's because I just had conversations, showed an interest, was able to kind of go into a rhythm of like how was your weekend, how was your day, and they would invite me to sit in an appointment and or help with a case or do whatever. And so conversationalist, I guess, be a conversationalist. I think that's the easiest way to kind of like get along with an office and like everybody who's there, even though they might be older than you or just in different stages of life. So yeah, these are my tips. I feel like I talked a lot. And I think I only gave you like 5 tips or something like that. So I don't know. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.